Hi, this morning I've been trying to photograph roe deer, not very successfully. I got here at dawn and I walked around the outskirts of this woodland. Roe deer are going to feed out in the fields early morning, late evening. Well, I only saw one roe deer and I didn't get anywhere near to it. It was a couple of fields away. By the time I got there, it had gone. And after 2 hours, I decided to come into the woodland, which is where the roe deer will go during the day. But I was getting a bit tired, so I decided not to carry the tripod with me. So I took that back to the car and just walked about with the lens. After 30 minutes, I came across a roe deer and it was tame and approachable. So I started taking pictures, hand holding, and it's amazing what you can do today. This is the OM-1 150 to 400mm lens, so that gives me 8 stops of image stabilizer. It's quite easy to hand hold stills pictures doing that. In fact, I'll show you a picture of a muntjac that I took a few months ago that was also handheld. This was taken at a 15th of a second at 1600 ISO and it was almost dark. It was at 490mm, so that means I had the 1.25 extender in, but I'd also zoomed back a bit. I had no time to change any setting. The camera was in the bag. I pulled it out the bag, switched it on, pointed it at the muntjac and took a picture. Amazed at how sharp it came out. Now, I actually don't take that many pictures handheld. I'm normally on the tripod, so that was an exception. But I was doing okay this morning as well for stills. But then I wanted to take video of it, and that's when I was really going to miss the tripod. It's a lot harder to hand hold video and make it look good. Nothing looks worse than shaky video. So to try and help myself, I was bracing myself against a tree, but that means you can't stand exactly where you want to be. You've got to be by the tree, whereas I might want to be in the middle of the track to get the background I want. There was also a fallen log, so I was lying down on my belly, balancing the lens on the log for a while. Well, I got a little bit of video and I thought it might be usable, especially with the anti-vibration that's built into the software these days, the computer software. That's pretty fantastic too. So this is a clip taken without the computer software removing some of this vibration, and you can see I'm all over the place. There's no way is this a usable clip. But now the same clip with the image stabilizer in, and once I've got relatively steady, there it's quite acceptable for that short period of time. But then I decided to go back to the car and get the tripod. That was about a 15-minute walk, so 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. I got back to the same area. The roe deer was still there, but it took me about 10 minutes to find it. Hadn't moved very far, about 100 meters, but that's so well camouflaged. The coat's nothing special, it's just that ruddy sort of brown colour, but they really merge into the woodland so well. But after 10 minutes I found it, then I was able to take the video panning on the tripod head, and I also took the G9 Mk2 with me as I went back from the car, because I prefer to use the G9 Mk2 for the video. So these are the stills pictures I took. Shutter speed was very close to 2/50th of a second for all of them with the lens wide open, ISO 1600, but I had no problems hand holding the lens for stills pictures. And every shot was taken at the 400mm end without the extender in. Now when I came across this roe deer, I didn't have to stalk it. It knew I was there. It was looking at me. And it was just standing there and chewing the cud, which means it's regurgitating the food it's already eaten. It brings it back up and re-chews it and then swallows it again. And it's just standing there and staring at me as it's doing this. So I'm not so much stalking it. What I've got to be is non-threatening. And that simply means you don't move too fast. You certainly don't do anything jerky. You've got to move very steadily. So as I'm picking the lens up to my eye, I just do it very gently. And very important, you want to get closer to it, You don't walk straight at it. You walk so you're going past it. And at some point that path you're taking will be close enough to that deer to photograph it. And I always give the analogy of when you're at school, in the school playground, the school bully is walking straight towards you, he's looking at you, then you're a bit apprehensive about what's going to happen. But if the school bully is walking across you and he's heading towards the school gates, well, he's going to be very close to you, but he's looking as if he's going to go past you, so you're not bothered. It's the same when you're trying to get close to something. Don't walk straight at it, walk at an angle that's going to take you slightly past it. I didn't really have a very successful morning. I didn't get a range of different pictures. The roe deer was only in a couple of very limited places and there was no real action. Now, I normally like low-level photography, but sometimes it can be a problem, and it was here because there was really a lot of vegetation in the way. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, but I felt here I was better off on the tripod once I got hold of it. Also, once I was on the tripod and I'd got a clear vision of what I'm looking at, I could see I was photographing a young male. I thought I'd been photographing a female, but there you can see the stumps on the top of the head of the antlers just starting to come through. The adults had got fully grown antlers at this point. And another sample of how well the G9 Mk2 autofocuses. The deer's gone out of focus here, but as soon as it comes into the gap between the trees, it manages to refocus again. The OM-1 would not do this. Whenever I'm doing something like roe deer, I'm always wondering how much one of these thermal imagers would help me. They're becoming very popular now amongst bird watchers. I was at a place the other weekend and I came across 2 bird watchers that had got them. The monocular type seemed to be the most common, just a single eyepiece. But you can also get them that work through your mobile phone, and you can get the binocular type too. My instincts say the binocular type would be best. It always seems awkward looking through one eyepiece. But it's a subject I don't really know anything about, but would it help me to actually find things? Not just roe deer, but jack snipe. There's a lot of jack snipe just over here, but they're impossible to find and photograph. And woodcock as well. In the winter, this woodland, there'll be woodcock lying out on the floor during the day. You don't know they're there until you almost stand on them and they fly away from you. But with a heat source, thermal imager, would you actually be able to find them and photograph them? Now, I know nothing about thermal imagers, but I've managed to borrow a couple of them. I've borrowed a monocular type, which is the ones that you see bird watchers using the most often, and I've also managed to borrow one of these. Tiny little thing that plugs into your mobile phone. Get rave reviews on YouTube. There's a third type where you can get a thermal imager that's binoculars. I haven't managed to borrow one of those, but in next week's film I'm hoping to compare the 2 that I have managed to borrow and see if they have any practical use for me as a wildlife photographer. It's not going to be a review of the gear. Other people can do a much better job than that than me. It's just, do I find new subjects to photograph using this bit of kit? And I'll finish off by just showing you a few pictures of roe deer and muntjac that I've taken on previous occasions. Thanks for watching.